He moves up in weight to fight Nate Diaz, kind of last second, loses. But the reason he loses is because he's got the heart of a warrior. He's like, okay, show must go on. Yeah, I'll move up in weight to fight that guy. Has an immediate rematch with him. Bad idea. Like an immediate rematch against the guy who beats you by submission is, I think, always a bad idea. But he beat him. Then he beat Alvarez in a title defense. And then he fights Floyd. Yeah. What, are you going to say no to $100 million? By the way, how do you look against Floyd? Real good. It was his professional boxing debut against Floyd freaking Mayweather. He went 11 rounds. He won some rounds. He looked really good. And then he fights Nurmagomedov, who he was always going to lose to. So really, when you talk about his 2 losses in the last 4 fights, it's really the first Nate Diaz fight where he moved up in weight last second, and there's no shame in that. Conor McGregor is a fighter. He has the mentality of a fighter. He has plenty left. I don't think he's just motivated by the money or the money has finished him. I think Nurmagomedov will always be a bad idea for him. But like Holyfield was always a bad idea for Mike Tyson. That doesn't mean Tyson couldn't beat other guys. He just couldn't beat Holyfield.
Well,
Stay away from Nurmagomedov. Keep fighting.
First of all, that's a poor example. And it's even more egregious coming from you because of how much you know about the boxing game. The fact of the matter is that even though Mike Tyson, Holyfield was never a good idea for Mike Tyson, we had saw Mike Tyson's zest for fighting diminish before our very eyes. A matter of fact, we watched Max Kellerman be one of the individuals that chronicled the dissipation in his fervor, his interest. That's what we're talking about here. I said nothing about Conor McGregor's ability. I said nothing about Conor McGregor's skill in a negative fashion. What I talked about was will. We're talking about the UFC here. This ain't the WWE. They ain't choreographed outcomes or anything like that. Not to say they're not great athletes because they are.
He would be good in the WWE.
Of course he would. He'd be fantastic. He'd be fantastic. I mean, you think Ric Flair was the man? Could you imagine Conor McGregor in the WWE? It would be something special. No question about that. But what I am saying is that this is not something, it's not choreographed. It's not just entertainment. This is sheer violence. You got cats. Listen to Nurmagomedov when he beat Conor McGregor. Listen to how serious that man was not playing. That man was highly offended by how you came at him.
You don't think Conor has the eye of the tiger anymore. That's what you're saying.
But that's all I'm saying to you is that because of that absence of the eye of the tiger, we in the media, because he is box office, keep talking about him like he's a champion. He is not a champion. He has surrendered all of that because he's gotten comfortable.
Stop right there.
That's the problem.
You might be right.
You're damn right I'm right.
No, you might be, but we don't have enough evidence to say that yet.
I think we do.
And I will tell you why. When I bring up Tyson and Holyfield, you're right. Tyson wasn't the same guy by the time he fought Holyfield, although he was coming off one of his best wins ever in his rematch against Bruno. And Holyfield looked terrible in his previous fight against Bobby Chez, and Holyfield was a 17-1 underdog. What I'm saying is whenever those two would have fought, Holyfield would have had his number. Does that mean Tyson should have retired because there's one dude he can't beat? That's what I'm saying about Conor. He ain't going to beat Nurmagomedov. If they fight again, if they fight 10 more times, I'll take Nurmagomedov every time. That doesn't mean Conor can't beat a lot of other guys. So you're ascribing his loss to Nurmagomedov as a lack of a will to win. I'm saying he ran into someone better with a bad style for him.
You know what, Max? There's no maybe about it. I'm absolutely right, and you're factually incorrect, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. We're talking about the UFC. We're talking about Dana White, are we not?
Yes.
When Conor McGregor fought and knocked out Eddie Alvarez, I believe it was September 27th in 2016, something like that, okay? Here's the deal. That was UFC 205. How many events have Conor McGregor been in? He didn't want it. How many? Listen, he's fought Mayweather and he's fought Nurmagomedov. Those are the only 2 fights he has had in damn near 3 years.
Those are major fights.
I'm not saying that. Time out. Pause.
Biggest defense in sports.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about it's the UFC. It's with Dana White. If Conor McGregor really wanted to fight, you trying to tell me there will be only 2 events in 3 years?
Well,
this is Dana White we talking about.
2 things.
Dana White, here, let me make you laugh. Dana White has been on First Take more than Conor McGregor has been in the octagon.
2 things.
That is a fact. Conor McGregor has been in the octagon less than Dana White has visited First Take.
Who's made more money in the UFC than Conor McGregor?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Right. So not everyone is Conor McGregor. The same way this could be a negotiation ploy because he wants a piece of the business, right? Because he's a huge draw. He's not playing by the same rules that way as everyone else in terms of his level of activity. That's when we see that with people like Mayweather. They get to a certain level, they fight once a year. That's number one. Number two.
And you decried that as a boxing analyst. You talked about how people should fight.
That's the organization.
No,
of the
no.
business.
I'm not saying, I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking you for it. I'm saying you are an individual, an expert in the sport of boxing who has chronicled how inactivity by champions
He's a
can
unique
assist in hurting the
outlier.
sport.
That's why
You've
I'm
done
saying
that.
we don't have enough evidence yet. You can look at it one of two ways, and there's no way to tell for sure right now. Here's one way to look at it. Conor McGregor fought the best boxer of the last 25 years and lost in a boxing match to that guy in his pro debut where he won some rounds and went 11 rounds. It's amazing. And then he lost to the guy who I believe will prove himself to be the best UFC fighter or MMA fighter of his generation, Nurmagomedov, who's, by the way, undefeated.
Yeah.
So if the condition is that if you lose to Mayweather in a boxing match and Nurmagomedov in an MMA fight, you shouldn't fight anymore, then everyone has to retire.
That's not my condition.
Everyone
Because
that's
he's
fighting has
taking
to
the
retire.
But that's a very irresponsible statement on your part because I didn't say any
Hold
such
up.
thing.
I
I'm
wanna
just
be
talking
clear
about a
on-
lack of
I wanna
activity.
be clear on what
He doesn't want to fight.
what you're saying, Stephen A. Before we move on, though, do you feel like he doesn't have it anymore?
No.
You just
no,
feel like
that's
he
not what
doesn't
I'm
have the
saying.
will anymore.
I'm saying he
made 100
doesn't
million.
care.
Got it.
He doesn't want
Got
it
it.
anymore. And why
Guess
should
what?
we sit up there continuously
Guess
talking
what?
about a guy that don't want to fight?
I think if he's watching First Take, he's going to want it. I think he's going to play this on a loop.
I wanna see him fight.
And he's going to
McGregor's
get
got-
all fired up
McGregor's
from
got
that
I wanna see
Stephen
him
A.
fight.
rant.
McGregor's got fight left in him, but you're not going to fight 2 to 3 times a year for a couple million when you can fight once a year for 100 million. Like, why would anyone
He's
do
fought
that?
twice in 3 years.
I don't think he's
Against
really done.
Nurmagomedov and Floyd.